Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Casa De Confidence. I am thrilled to have our next guest with us today. Keri-Lynne Shaw, or KL for her friends, is here visiting us. So we're going to learn a little bit more about the work that she's doing, but most importantly, her journey to confidence. And let's talk a little bit about that. Keri-Lynne, KL, do you consider yourself confident?
I would say I am, it's a funny word because ego sometimes comes up for me, and I've been
Yeah.
unpacking that. And I actually had a energy coach say to me the other day, there's this fine line between ego and humble. And I am
Wow.
extremely confident, but I'm
Hmm.
always really thoughtful about coming across like I don't want to come
Hmm.
across like I have an ego. But why do we worry about ego?
Yeah.
Because the actual word ego in Latin is ego, and it just stands for I. And then she gave me the description of what humble means, and it actually has a kind of a negative description. So it was just a
Okay.
really interesting conversation. So, yes, I would call
Okay.
myself very confident
Hmm.
and worrying less about how that confidence comes across to other people and just
Yeah.
knowing who I am.
I have to say that that's one of the things that I've struggled with is always being the person that's very outspoken, raising your hand, not and in some levels confident. The one thing that I've always been afraid of is that what people would consider conceited, right? And how is that coming across? And like you, the older I get, the more that I am starting to see that it's okay. However, people are deciding to interpret that, and I need to just stay in my lane and do me, and
Yeah.
not worry.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you can't control what other people think. We can
Of
only
course.
control two things, and that's how we
Mhm.
show up and that's how we treat others. So
Yeah.
the more that I'm reminded of that lane, the
Hmm.
better I can live and the more free I can be just to show up as the best version of myself. And if that resonates, amazing. I
Yeah.
love it to be part of my world. And if it doesn't, that's okay too.
No, absolutely. And you and I met through an incredible individual that I would consider to be incredibly confident. How Tell the listeners a little bit about what your evolution was to connect with Brad, and then how did you get to what you're doing today? Because what I think you're doing is incredibly important for others in the way that you're supporting them, but also, you left you started a new chapter basically, and I'd love to hear a little bit more of that journey.
Yeah, so I met Brad like I meet everybody else
Yeah.
via LinkedIn and this networking approach that I have that leads as many people to coffee as I can.
Hmm.
And so I meet about 15 to 20 new people a week. And part of that journey is to be able to share what I do. And because I believe that the work that I do can help so many people. And
Yeah.
whether I can help impact them or whether there's someone in their life that can be impacted by the work that I do,
Hmm. Yeah.
that's why I do it. And they don't have to become a client for them to be a part of my world, and hopefully I can impact them. So I met Brad that way, and that's how
Hmm.
we met. But ultimately, I left a corporate career, 30 years,
Yeah.
and never in a million did I believe that this would be what I do. I thought I would take another chief people officer
Hmm.
role before I retire, and then I would retire and travel the world and do all the things that I wanted to do. But I realized that I wanted to make a bigger impact on the world and
Hmm.
do that by helping people step into their power and helping people find their way and unlock their potential. So that is the work that I get to do today after being a chief people officer and watching people do three things not so well. One of those was networking.
Hmm.
Second one was interviewing well, and the other one was negotiate. So I know there's a massive need in the world to help people step into their power and realize that they
Hmm.
don't have to check the box and do a 9 to 5 and then, not be fulfilled and not match what they do for a living with what they're really passionate about.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get to do that every day and do my part to close the gender and racial pay gap. So there's that.
Yeah. You know what? That's one of the things that I really admire. I think that one of the things that we really need to continue to work on. And it's sort of, if I spend too much time on it, I think, wow, we're still working on that. But like you said, the gender and pay gap, it's still a thing. And what are things that you particularly are doing specifically with the clients that you work with, and how are you supporting them? Because a lot of people have different approaches with closing that gender and pay gap.
Yeah.
What are the ways that you work on it?
Well, first of all, it starts with you. It starts with
Hmm.
you actually finding your confidence
Yeah.
and knowing what you're worth. So I teach people how to figure that out. I teach people how to tap into it on their own, how to do the market research so they
Hmm.
can actually see what the market is paying, prepare for interviews in a way that they've probably never prepared for before, and recognize that 80% of jobs are found via your network. So teaching people how to
Hmm.
network is a art in
Yeah.
itself. And,
Yeah.
being able to walk into what people are probably have lived their whole life believing are really hard conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have to be hard. They can actually happen with ease if you do it and you're prepared
Hmm.
and you believe in yourself. And so we work a lot on your relationship to money. We work
Hmm.
on how you can show up for these conversations in a very different way, fully confident, knowing that they need you more than you need them. And I know that's hard in this market because a lot of people
Oh
are
yeah.
anxious about their next
Hmm.
opportunity. And we don't focus on that. We focus on the controllables. We focus on how you're going to show up for every single one of these networking calls or every single one of these interviews. And that is what I believe makes my approach different.
I love that you talk about networking, and I totally agree that people don't know how to network. And when it comes to actually negotiating, it is an uncomfortable situation. And those two combined tends to really chop away at how individuals are building their confidence. Was there ever a time, because from the time, that you and I first connected and subsequently our next meeting, I've always found a very poised, confident person. But I know that for most of us that are at one level of confidence, there was a start. There was a place where we weren't always here. What was that like for you?
I would say I was always very confident. I was
Hmm.
not confident, though, in walking into the money conversations. So
Okay.
those of networking, interviewing, super optimistic. I know my value. I know what I know. I know what I don't know. I'm very
Hmm.
authentic. I'm very vulnerable, and I'm not afraid to show up as my true self.
Hmm.
And this was pretty much my whole life. It was the negotiation part and actually why I started my company. So the company is called the Salary Bump,
Yeah.
specifically designed to help people step into that power because
Hmm.
for about 2 decades, I didn't. And it wasn't until I doubled my package twice in my career, job jumping,
Hmm.
that I realized, boy, I have left a ton on the table. I'd never done the
Hmm.
statistics research, but after studying the stats, we are leaving between 1 million and 1.5 million on the table over our career by not
That's
negotiating.
huge. That's really huge.
And less than 30% of women are negotiating, and that's even lower for
Hmm.
people of color.
Hmm.
So that said, when I started to do the research, I thought, okay, I'm not alone. And I'm no longer interested in hearing the noise that women are bad
Hmm.
negotiators
Yeah.
because that's what I thought. And I thought,
Hmm.
oh, I just won't try because, it's
Yeah.
awkward or it didn't work last time. I realized that that is not the case and that I have an ability to fix that, at
Hmm.
least to do my part.
Right.
Because remember, as a chief people officer, I have interviewed and made offers to thousands of people. So
Hmm.
over that time frame, I watched a lot of people do it really badly, including in the early days myself. And I
Hmm.
watched people do it really well. And I took notes and I created a program around helping you step into that power. But I also realized that it isn't just about the money. It is about
Hmm.
beyond salary. And it's a bit tongue in cheek because it's called the salary bump. But the reality is it's a
Hmm.
compensation package,
Right.
which
Right.
includes 20 different things that
Mm.
are things that are important to you beyond just your base salary.
Yep.
It was never just about the money for me, but I stopped saying that. I used to say it because I thought, oh, it would maybe make me look less greedy. If I said
Hmm.
that, people would know I'm more interested in the job and the company than I am about the money. And I stopped that because obviously that is not the case. I should be
Hmm.
able to have both. I have financial goals. I'm creating generational wealth for my daughter. I have beautiful luxury vacations that I've planned. I have homes around
Mhm.
the world that I want to have. So I'm not making excuses for that anymore. And I'm not
Yep.
feeling bad about that anymore. And so teaching people that is, I think, a really important role. If the stats are real, we
Mhm.
have a lot of work to do in this area.
No, absolutely. And you said a couple different things that I definitely want to touch on. And number one is that we don't realize that when we're talking about compensation, it's not just the money that you're going to get from your job. It's going to be the whole package. And I remember, I would say it was my late 30s when it all of a sudden hit me. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not everything, right? And it was so life changing for me. And at that point, I'd had two major promotions, and I had stepped out and asked for the promotions and asked for the money that I wanted to earn, but I never really knew or understood or really paid attention to the fact that there is that other component. And when I realized, like, wait a minute, this is a greater picture. I'm still underpaying myself, even though I asked for more money, right?
Yeah.
What are the things, right, that you first let people know that they should focus on? Is it the time off? Is it the health insurance? What are the other components that bump up your compensation package?
Well, it depends also what you value, right? So everybody
Hmm.
has a different relationship
Right.
and value. Some flexibility, remote
Hmm.
work, and time off is more important. So there
Hmm.
might be certain sacrifices that you may or may not make. You don't have to. It's part of the discussion.
Hmm.
Usually, the question you get asked is, "What are your salary expectations?" I
Hmm.
hate the question. It
Yeah,
needs to stop
I hate it
because
too.
it's beyond, there's so much more beyond it. But um, I don't recommend that anybody answers that question first. You
Hmm.
always send it back to the person and say, listen,
Right.
I'd love to understand your comp philosophy here. What does your
Hmm.
whole package look like? So some companies put more emphasis on healthcare. And
Hmm.
depending on where, what my healthcare needs are, perhaps that's actually really important to me. Perhaps I'm looking for fertility benefits.
Hmm.
I, as a chief people officer, was always part of the benefits strategy and tried very hard to make sure our benefits were really powerful. I have had people come to me and say, I'm here for the next period of time, specifically because your fertility benefits are so good. And this is the stage of life
Wow.
that I'm in. Because I know that's going to cost me out of pocket if my company doesn't offer that. So thank you for that, right? Or
Hmm.
people that after I left told me that. So it depends on what's important to you. Salary, bonus, equity are always your baseline.
Hmm.
But I always had a company car, gas, and insurance because I
Hmm.
worked in automotive for 20 years.
Right.
And that's a huge payment.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, you might be leaving a job and getting a 10% increase and their healthcare benefits are not as good as yours. Now you just
Hmm.
threw away that 10% into the healthcare benefit package of what your out-of-pocket costs
Hmm.
are. So asking the questions around what the whole package looks like is extremely important.
Hmm.
Of course, not only asking the questions, but show me the benefits breakdown. Not
Yeah.
once, and I mean not once in my career has anyone ever asked me, can you please give me the benefits breakdown?
Wow.
When we're talking about the offer. I always did afterwards, but I
Hmm.
was really shocked that nobody brought it up. And it's a really important factor. It can cost you thousands
Hmm.
a month out of pocket.
Yeah.
So you have to evaluate what's important. What are your non-negotiables? If remote work
Hmm.
is not negotiable, it's not negotiable. You're only then looking for roles that are remote. Or you're coming from Europe, let's say, and
Hmm.
you have a 30-day PTO
Yeah.
since day one. Every single employee, no matter what stage of career you are, gets 30 days. So
Hmm.
if you're coming from a place that you had 30 days and they're now trying to give you 2 weeks, obviously
Yeah.
that's a big negotiating
That's a big
factor.
negotiation. Yeah.
PTO to me was always gold
Hmm.
and really
Hmm.
important to me. Um, the whole package is extremely important. I'll give you an example. I worked with a automotive technician.
Hmm.
So I work with everyone from CEOs to automotive technicians. And he had just received his master certification, which is a huge certification in that
Right.
industry. Turnover rate is more than 50%. Dealers do not want to lose you, especially with a master cert. And he wanted to get paid more. He's an hourly worker.
Mm-hmm.
And we went then and looked at his whole package. He's like, well, I'd like to get a few more dollars an hour. I was like, okay, well, that's easy, but let's talk about the rest. Talk to me about what drives you, what motivates you. Well, I want to keep learning and growing. So personal development, I'd like for them to pay for, other
Right.
certifications. Great. Let's talk about they're asking you to do more training. Are you getting paid for that? No. So it takes away from,
Mm-hmm.
your whatever you earn on every
Right.
card that you are working on. Correct. Okay, well, let's co-create a bonus structure. Let's find a way to get you paid for these additional training hours. Let's
Yeah.
talk about what beyond, your hourly rate is important. It's a dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we get you a company car, insurance, and gas? Perfect. Did all of that. We even got him and his wife's health insurance paid for. So the amount of money that we put back in his pocket was almost $3,000 a month
Wow.
with that
That's huge.
negotiation. Plus, we got, I think, 15 additional days of PTO, which as an hourly worker is cash in your pocket,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Unlike
Yep.
unlike a salary. And we also got him obviously a few more dollars an hour. We co-created a bonus structure. So we evaluated what was important to him, and that's what we ended up
Mm-hmm.
developing. And we ended up going back and I coach them. I don't do the negotiation for my clients. Went back and had a beautiful conversation about how are you rewarding
Mm-hmm.
people who are getting their master certifications and how can we co-create something here. And he wanted to stay there. He wanted to
Mm-hmm.
invest in the longer haul. We also talked about equity, which they have not yet released for him,
Released. Okay.
but it will come, and we will have that conversation then during the year when he
Mm-hmm.
does his regular check-ins because they love him and they want to keep him as well.
Yeah.
So equity will be the next bump that he gets.
That's so good. I love that you unpack this whole example because as you were speaking, I kept thinking, and again, I work for myself and I love being an entrepreneur and really deciding my destiny in my business. And I decide what I get paid. I decide when my days off are, everything. But my husband is still in the corporate environment. And one of the things that he and I are very different at is he is not very good at asking for what he deserves or wants. And
Mm.
usually, before he has his yearly review, we sit down and I coach him and I say, we want to make sure you have this and this. And he'll go back and he does his best, but it doesn't come naturally to him. And I know that there's other people that probably does not come naturally to being able to ask and advocate for them. Also, the other piece is you talked about researching what you are worth. How do people do that?
Yeah. So it also, just come back to your husband for a
Hmm.
moment. Practicing that conversation is extremely important.
Yeah.
So, and preparing for it. How do you want to come across in that conversation? What are the
Yeah.
key points that you want to express? Practicing in front of the mirror, in front of video. My
Mm,
clients do it and they send me the video and I give them
love
feedback.
that.
Yeah. So really
So
setting yourself
good.
up and
Yep.
also being really thoughtful about when you have that conversation. So
Hmm.
it's far beyond the annual review.
Hmm.
It is throughout the year.
Yeah.
At least quarterly, you're doing a check-in, you're asking for
Hmm.
feedback. You're thinking about asking for more after coming off great results. Maybe you just
Yep.
completed a big project, you just got incredible feedback, or the
Hmm.
company just announced results that
Hmm.
were really positive. So you want to think about your timing. If the company just announced the worst results ever, not probably the best
Hmm.
timing for you to ask for a raise. But talking about your career development on the regular is really, really important. Doing your research on what your role is worth and what the
Hmm.
role that you're thinking about going
Yeah.
into is also worth. There are many AI tools that do this, but ChatGPT has one called Salary Navigator,
Hmm.
and you can then insert every piece of information you possibly can from job descriptions to your resume to
Okay.
other job descriptions to the value add that you're bringing to the revenue size of the company, to the number of people in the company, put as much info in there as
Hmm.
possible and ask for it to please source multiple sources and give ranges on what a package, what the salary and bonus
Hmm.
program should look like, or what the market, what it looks like on the market. You can then see if you're paid appropriately based on the market. Don't get all jacked up if it's much higher. Don't get all worked up and then go into your boss's office.
Oh, yeah,
ChatGPT
no,
told
that
me
doesn't
this.
come out
No,
very
this is
well.
about a baseline. This is about you getting established. And I think, you know what, Julie, we need to start normalizing the conversation around money and talking to each other about it. What do you charge for your
Oh,
services?
that's
What do you
right.
make? What does a director level at your company make? Talk to me about
Hmm.
your old job. I'm trying to get established and understand what my role is worth. And I would really appreciate if you can give me any insights.
Hmm.
You're in finance, I'm in finance, or you're in a totally different industry. Talk to me about your industry.
Yeah.
What do the pay ranges look like? You don't have to ask someone what they make. Maybe that's awkward, but
Hmm.
you can talk about, can you help me get a baseline, help me get established, help me understand. Normalizing this conversation and even talking about what we make
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
really important, because we're
Yeah.
not going to change it unless we start having these conversations and start bringing it to the forefront.
I think that it's so gold. And if you're listening to this, I think that hearing KL probably is making you a little uncomfortable, because in our society, these are the conversations that we don't approach. But I totally believe that this is a great way to, one, normalize it, and yes, being uncomfortable for a little bit, but then the more that we talk about it and normalize it, the easier it is going to be
Yeah.
to approach your powers to be, and to really not only negotiate but advocate for your worth, advocate for the lifestyle you desire. And this is why the salary bump is doing some really cool stuff, I believe, because we need that. In one of the things that you talked about is talking to your bosses, not only at those periods of review, but throughout. And I think that, to me, that was one of, when I first did that, and I said, "Hey, I just came off of this big conference. We had a huge success. I need more money and I need more time off." And I
Yeah.
remember after these things came out of my mouth, I thought, "Oh my God, they're going to think I'm crazy. What are they going to do?" And it was really awkward. And the answer was yes. Now, I've done it also in other ways in which the answer is no. How do we bounce back when the answer is no?
Yeah. So first of all, I think it's more than just asking for more money or more time off after something big. It's about keeping an impact list and
Hmm.
sharing your impact and getting feedback on
Yeah.
it and talking about your growth. That growth does not only include financial growth. So after every a big achievement, we're not going in and asking for money. We're talking
Hmm.
about our future, where we're going, and
Right.
how we're growing inside the organization, how we're growing both from a professional level and also from a financial level.
Hmm.
And where are the gaps? Because if I'm looking to become VP, C suite, whatever role I'm looking
Right.
to grow into, where are the gaps? And you need to have those conversations with your managers so that you can start filling them in, whether that be going back and getting an MBA, whether that be certain personal development or conferences that I should
Hmm.
attend. The company can also pay for those things for
That's
you.
right.
I want to become a professional coach. I think it'll add value. That's what I did.
Hmm.
They
Yep.
sponsored my coaching program. They
That's
sponsored
right.
my MBA. Like, there are personal development angles. If
Hmm.
a specific AI course is going to help you in your work, ask your company
Yeah.
to pay for it. So think about development is beyond just asking for
Hmm.
more money, because you don't get so many shots at that, and so you want to be careful that you're being really thoughtful about when you
Hmm.
shoot it. Because
Yeah.
if you shoot at the wrong time, it may or may not backfire, and it's really
Hmm.
difficult to recover. All that said, you asked, how do you recover if it's a
Hmm.
no? I want to unpack it. I want to understand it.
Okay.
Talk to me about why. Talk to me about why not. Talk to
Hmm.
me, Mr. and Mrs. Manager, about where I am against the benchmark of everybody else in the organization, everyone else at my level. Talk to me about where I fall on that range, right? What
Hmm.
percentile am I in?
Yep.
What is the maximum for someone at my level to earn? And if someone in my role were to be paid at the maximum, what would you be looking for?
Mm.
Ask the questions around if you're looking for a range between 175 and 225, and let's say 200 is your number, talk to me about what someone at 200 makes. What are they doing differently than I'm doing today? And then
Hmm.
take that feedback. And if the boss can't give you that feedback, then you need to go seek it elsewhere. Seek it with HR. Let them know, listen, I'm going to go talk to HR because I'm looking to
Hmm.
grow. I want the input and the feedback. Talk to mentors in the organization. Talk to other people who maybe have seen your work, who have been impacted by your work. Get the input on what it is that you need to do to take it to the next level, and then you say, okay, so here's the feedback. Here are the three things that everybody has told me that I need to work
Hmm.
on. When those three things happen, I'm going to come back and revisit this conversation. What does success look like from your perspective? And how am I keeping you up to date on that success? So you're keeping a
Yeah.
log, and you're
Hmm.
keeping this conversation moving forward. You're not just running away, or you're saying, okay, so no more on the salary. So let's talk about some of the other levers.
Right.
Some of the other things that are really important to me are time off.
Hmm.
Some of the other things that are important to me are XYZ. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And let's talk about how we close the gap in other ways.
Hmm.
So those are
Yeah.
just a few tips.
Those are excellent. I love that. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that, again, they can think outside of the box. Just because someone in your organization hasn't received it or did not ask for it doesn't mean that the powers to be would not offer it. I remember I also had my coaching certifications too, paid by the organization. And that was something that was not done, but I asked for it. And I gave them the picture of how that was going to impact the organization with me bringing these skills to the table, the programs that we were going to be able to develop, the internal support I would be able to provide the team. So, all of that definitely helped me to advocate. Now, I come across a lot of women, and I've heard this, specifically my friends that sometimes come in and say, how do I ask or what should I be doing? And in this climate, where there are a lot of people who are job seekers. When someone says to you, KL, I don't want to seem greedy. I'm just grateful that they're going to give me a job. What's your response to that?
Well, I mean, I think it's a natural response, especially given the market that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of fear. There's fear that you may come across greedy. There's fear that I need to pay my bills and therefore I need this job. So all we can do is prepare. All we can
Mm-hmm.
do is do the homework. All we can do is help you step into that power. You have
Yeah.
to be the decision maker to step into it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I believe, as a former chief people officer, and having watched people do this really badly over
Mm-hmm.
my career, and the few that did it really well, those that walked in with confidence in who they are and the value that they bring are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that got the yes. And I will also say this, you negotiating is actually showing them your leadership. Depending on the
So
role that
good.
you're interviewing for, if you're interviewing for sales,
Mm-hmm.
customer service, HR, you're
Yeah.
interviewing with any kind of outside vendor interaction
Mm-hmm.
or customer interaction, you're negotiating every single day on behalf of the company. So
Yeah.
if I can't see how you negotiate for yourself, oof, there's a big miss there. So this is an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for you to show up as a leader, show up with confidence, use silence as one of your tools,
Ooh,
talk
good,
about the
good, good.
market, talk about other roles that you've been interviewing for, and talk about why you think this is the right fit and that you really hope that we can find a way to make this work. And remember that if
Mm-hmm.
they've made you an offer, they want you.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
want you.
They
They've
want
already
you.
said they want you. They want to close the deal. And I'll tell you, behind every offer is a hiring manager pouncing on HR to close that
Mm-hmm.
deal
That's right.
and do whatever it takes to close that deal because you are their number one choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You were chosen for a reason. That manager does not want to lose you. So don't underestimate the fact that the manager is like, do whatever you have to do to
Yeah.
close it.
Yeah.
And, you find your authentic way to talk about money, but always ask. The person on the other end, by the way, is expecting you to. And the stat is
Mm-hmm.
87% of the time when you negotiate, the answer is yes, whether
Yeah.
that be the full amount that you're asking for or whether that be something. 87%.
That's
I mean, those are
huge.
some decent odds.
Yeah.
And as a chief people officer, I'm expecting you to negotiate. So it's a surprise when you don't. So if
Hmm.
that gives you any confidence to be able to
Yeah.
say, okay, well, they're expecting me to, and almost 90% of the time it's going to be a yes. Why wouldn't I?
Hmm. Yeah.
Why wouldn't
Why
I?
wouldn't you?
Really not to.
Yeah. I've been seeing that commercial and I think that it's so well done. The commercial where the guy asks, well, what is the salary? Is or salary range competitive? And the HR person comes back and says competitive. And he's asked again because he wants to know what the range is. And they said, well, it's competitive, not competitive. And they go back and forth. And then finally the commercial is for, I don't know, I forget who it is for, but I guess where they actually do give you the range or tell you the salary. And I think that that is the thing that I see so many people that they still kind of dance around because they're so used to just accepting the first offer and not
Yeah.
necessarily knowing that there is that room for negotiation. I know many friends, KL, who are teachers. I came from the education background, and
Hmm.
most teachers fall within a step salary.
Yeah.
And many of them at this time, they've hit that top of the pay scale. Can they still negotiate specifically if they want to remain in their position and continue to teach for some time?
Unions are different, Julie. So you
Non-union, non-union,
non-union,
non-union.
of
Yeah.
course, you can always negotiate.
Hmm.
But again, what are the other factors around that? What are the other things that are really important to you? And how can you weave those in?
Hmm.
And if you're really good and they want to keep you, they'll have those conversations. So 100%
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
because there isn't a cap. Every
Hmm.
organization goes up to a certain amount and it's more than 100%. Usually that range is 130%. So there is
Hmm.
always room for more. There's room for bonus, performance bonus, co-create a bonus structure,
Hmm.
create something where perhaps there's time off as a teacher. That's difficult, but then,
Hmm.
okay, how can you work that in?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
there are many, many ways, and 100%, you should always ask
Mm.
and get creative. Look at all the different levers that you have.
Yeah.
Look at all the different ways that you have.
Mm.
Because a motivated employee that
Yeah.
is so, I'm a big pay for performance kind of
Hmm.
person. I want to be rewarded for the work that I do.
Yeah.
And if you're paying me the same as the guy next to me who's surfing the internet, I actually had that happen to me once. It was a job offer in Germany,
Hmm.
and we were negotiating. Subsequently turned it down, and then 2 weeks later got an expat contract. So funny how that worked. But it was a sales role, and
Hmm.
I am used to getting paid for my performance in sales. And he said to me, unfortunately, you're getting paid the same as the guy sitting next to you who's surfing the internet all day. And I said, well, unfortunately, that's not inspiring for me.
Hmm.
So I wish you the best. And I walked away. And literally 2 days later, I got a phone call to interview for another opportunity. And it was a full
That's
expat
amazing.
role. And
Wow.
he was expecting me to take a pay cut. And obviously, moving to another country, it's a little bit
Hmm.
complex. I
Right.
was moving for a boy, and we were trying to reestablish our life there. So I was really disappointed. But on the other hand, I knew my worth. And at least if I was going to take any kind of you know,
Hmm.
a pay cut, if you will,
Right.
or any kind of a equal pay situation, I sure as heck am going to get it on the other end because
Hmm.
I know I'm good and
Right.
I know that I will show you and then you can show me the money. And the answer was no. I said, okay, ciao. See you
I,
next.
yeah. I love that. I love that. Finish the sentence for me. There's one thing I wish every woman knew about negotiation, and it is
Oh, that the person on the other end is expecting you to.
hmm.
Yeah, the person is
Yeah.
expecting you to negotiate. So
Yeah.
walk through that door.
Mm. I think this is going to be one of these episodes, Kale, that people come back to and they need to go back and listen because a lot of the things that you are speaking about are so crucial to have in your toolkit as you continue to build a career. Now, what's your favorite sentence or phrase to use in negotiation?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, other than responding with, talk to me about your comp philosophy here.
Hmm.
So when they
Okay.
ask you, what are your salary expectations? Like, listen, I'd love to know what you've budgeted for the role. And I'd really love to understand your compensation philosophy here. Because again, as I said, it goes far beyond salary. So are they heavier in equity? Are they heavier in pay for performance? Are they heavier on their benefits? And that's important to you or not important to you. Understanding that philosophy is extremely important because if there's a values conflict, you can learn
Hmm.
that really early on as opposed to getting in and learning it afterwards and then being frustrated. So yeah, those are my two faves.
So cool. So cool.
And
Tell
then
me,
silence,
yeah, and silence.
actually.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, silence is
That is
good.
a tool that you should really consider. So when you make a statement, when you share a range,
Hmm.
when you talk about your worth, stop
Mm,
talking
so good.
because
And
someone
that's
has
the
to fill the air.
hardest.
It is hard, but they're
It
going
is
to fill
hard.
the air. They're going
Yep.
to walk back through it. Yeah. And they're either going to say yes, no, or let me think about it. Let me come back to you.
Hmm.
And what's the worst case scenario? They say no. Well, then you get to decide.
That's right.
Will I accept that amount? Like, what is my non-negotiable? What's my lowest amount that I would accept? And the number that I am looking for is the number you want to have in your mind as you walk in,
Hmm.
not thinking worst case scenario, think best case scenario.
That's right. Ooh. So now, where can people start if they want to embrace the salary bump philosophy and they want to begin living their value today?
I think the best place to start is to really dig into who you are. Am I
Mhm.
fulfilled in what I do? Is the company and the role that I'm in today really where I want to be? And where do I see myself in the future? And establish sort of your groundwork on
Mhm.
what really lights my fire. How am I going to live a life that fulfills what I love, what I'm really good at, and how I want to make an impact on the world? And
Mhm.
then you can sort of map that out. And then you can say, okay, where does pay fit into that? And do I feel like I'm getting paid what I'm worth? Let's do the market research, see where you stand, and talk about also some of your financial goals and work your
Mhm.
way towards where you see yourself going. If I see myself here at a much higher level one day, well, what are all the side steps that I need
Right.
to take? Is this the industry that I should stay in? Is there another industry that lights my fire? Is it industry or is it values and culture that I care more about? And who are the kind of people that I'm working with?
Mhm.
Like are
Yeah.
they people that match like do they care about
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Do they match what I care about? Because that values mismatch, I've left companies because of a
Mhm.
values
Me
mismatch.
too.
You will be miserable if you are not aligned with their values and really dig into that when you're
Mhm.
interviewing because you are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. And don't forget that.
Oh, I think that that's the one thing people often forget when they're walking into the interview. They're trying to put their best foot forward. They're trying to showcase all of the experience that they have. And by the way, you don't have to hit, all of the checkpoints in a job description. You want to come in and share what you can, share that you're a team player, share that you're going to be able to fit into their culture and overall, company, but two, really realize, is this organization, do I like them? Do I like how they treat me during this interview? What is that going to look like in the long run? And yes, is it a right fit? Because sometimes we walk into a job thinking I need a job, but you're not thinking about a career. And a career is really more lasting than just a job.
Yeah, both matter. So even
Mhm.
if you're saying yes to a job, be conscious about what you're saying
Yeah.
yes to. But think about it. If the interview process is 10 different people, 15 different people, it's over months and months and months,
Mm,
I would question the decisiveness of that organization.
yeah.
I would question the amount of time it takes to get anything pushed through in that organization. Like, look for the signs, read the room.
Hmm.
And, last but not least, don't depend on LinkedIn to go in and post for jobs and hope the ATS system
Yep.
picks you up. 80% of jobs are found via your network. So if you're not spending 80% of your time on your
Hmm.
network, you are missing opportunities that one conversation can change your entire trajectory. So have the conversations, lead people to coffee, spend your energy there.
Yeah.
That's how you have different conversations
Yeah.
around what lights your fire, conversations about what keeps you up at night. They are not as fierce and intense as the
Hmm.
interview. So
Yeah.
they tend to be more natural and you can be yourself in those conversations. And all it takes is one that can change your life.
Love it. Love it. Now, you have multiple different ways and resources in which people can connect with you, leverage your expertise. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So, LinkedIn is my number one source. I post almost every day on that platform, and it is such a beautiful and friendly platform. So, visit me
Hmm.
there. I take coffees with everyone. So, if you want to jump on a coffee and share your story, I'd be happy to see how I could support you.
Hmm.
I also have a digital program that is super comprehensive. It's about 3 hours total. Videos from me, worksheets that is a self-guided approach for you to
Hmm.
get your mindset in the right place, prep for the interview, and land your next job. And that is also on my website. That's thesalarybump.com. And I'm on all the channels: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. And I give a lot of free information and a lot of videos and anything I can do to help people unlock their potential. That's what I'm here for.
Well, amazing. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I so appreciate the work that you're doing. I think we need more people that are like you, being able to share their expertise and then creating a better tomorrow for so many of us. And I believe in my book, that's a great legacy to leave behind. Is there another part of the legacy that you hope you're leaving behind?
Um, I think it's a beautiful way that you described it. Look, I believe I have skills and tools that can help people change their life and live the life that they've always wanted, or the life that they've dreamt of, or the life that
Hmm.
they deserve. And I really believe strongly in the mission to close the gender and racial pay gap. It won't close itself if
That's
we
right.
don't actually start stepping into it. So, leaving that legacy, and I think just being a kind person is the biggest one for me. Just, I try to be really good. And I have a 22-year-old daughter who watches my every move, and how I treat other people. So, leaving a legacy that people thought I was kind, I think is a big one.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Kale, for being here. And thank you so much for the work that you do on behalf of so many individuals that this is going to be life changing for. I appreciate you. And my friends, if you are in a position that maybe you need to talk to Kale, go and have coffee with her and enjoy getting to know her and learning from her. And then also expanding your network, because we don't do it alone. We do it in community. So thank you again for tuning in. If you like this episode, I want to encourage you to go and share it with someone who may need to hear what Kale had to say. Make sure that you connect with her on LinkedIn. And if you haven't done so, subscribe and leave us a review, because this is another way in which you can help us reach the people with a message that they may need in that moment. So thank you again, everyone. And don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Thank you, KL.
Thanks for having me.